Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I hope you all have been enjoying the conference so far. Thank you if you're joining us here in person in Washington, D.C., and thank you as well to our online viewers. My name is Hadil Ali. I'm the Director of the Diversity and Leadership in International Affairs Project here at CSIS, and I'm delighted to be the moderator for the panel on frontline responders in Myanmar, the role of women in humanitarian and climate action. So let me give you a little bit of a sense of the context in which we're operating in and the landscape in Myanmar. Myanmar is facing political turmoil, humanitarian crises, environmental degradation, all presenting a multifaceted challenge for the country. With an estimated 18.6 million individuals who are predominantly women and girls that are in desperate need of aid, the humanitarian response has been alarmingly underfunded. Myanmar's 2023 humanitarian response plan remains only 45% funded, leaving nearly 2 million people deprived of essential support. Right. This is all exacerbated by doubling poverty lines since 2021 and displacement of 2.6 million people by the end of last year, 2023. Despite these dire circumstances, it's the women in Myanmar who are navigating this dangerous the terrain of political dissent and humanitarian aid provision. They're leading the movement. Women in Myanmar are the ones leading the movement, the anti-authoritarian movement, while also in the midst of conflict, humanitarian, and climate challenges. So to that end, I am delighted to have an all-star panel today, phenomenal women who are leaders in their own rights and civil society leaders in Myanmar as well. Let me introduce to you our panelists joining us both in person and online. Here joining us in person is to my left, Kin Le, who's the founding director of Triangle Women Organization in Myanmar. She's a Burmese civil society and political activist. Welcome. To my right is May Sabe Phew, who is a director of the Gender Equality Network in Myanmar. She's a women's rights and peace advocate, combating to end discrimination against women and ethnic and religious minorities in Myanmar. We're fortunate to have also joining us online, Susanna Hlahlasu, who is the Union Minister at the Ministry of Women, Youth and Children Affairs at the National Unity Government. We're also fortunate later on in the conversation, Thinzar Shunle Yi, who unfortunately can't be here for the conversation in person or online, but was able to share with us a video that we will be watching later to make sure that her voice is part of our conversation here today. I want to start off by asking all of our panelists the same question to add on the context that I gave of what's going on in Myanmar. And let's start here in person. If you can shed light on what are the main humanitarian and climate challenges that specifically women and girls are facing in Myanmar, and how are those challenges evolving since 2021? And can I start with you, Ken?
Thank you so much, Minglawa. As you know, that Myanmar is a developing country and affected climate challenges for many years because of political, social, economic, many reasons. But after 3 years of the attempt coup, faces multifaceted complex emergencies with mounting humanitarian needs, Myanmar has become the second deadliest country for the civilians. The Honduras military offensives against armed resistance have impacted approximately 80% of the country's township. These security concerns have resulted in the displacement of many individuals from their homes. As a result, the internally displaced population, IDPs, of Myanmar has exceeded 2.5 million people since February 2021. In addition to the Honduras Forces terror campaign across the country, the recent cyclone Mocha has wreaked havoc in the Rakhine and primarily like in armed conflict affected areas such as Chin, Sakai, Magwe, where a strong presence of resistant forces against the military exists. Humanitarian assistance and access to these areas is further compounded by the Myanmar military militia strategy called the 4CAT strategies, which they have used repeatedly in the ethnic areas for decades. Innocent civilians have become victims of a merciless denial of the humanitarian aid, further intensifying the human suffering. Conflict-ravaged regions remain off limits to United Nations agencies and international actors, blocking their ability to provide the assistance and support to these desperate needs. Instrumentalization and weaponization of life-saving humanitarian assistance is one of the junta's methods to force people into the submission. So humanitarian aid has become the instruments of gaining legitimacy by the junta, as they did during the COVID vaccine delivery too. So they are allowing the aid to be delivered to the areas where their political and strategic interests are met. The most vulnerable people are not provided with life-saving humanitarian assistance. Against these backdrop, local humanitarian actors, including like human rights organizations and other civil society organizations, despite facing the mounting risks and their adversity, continue to assume that the risks willing to reach to the most vulnerable and affected population. During the crisis, since the last 3 years, the communities affected have shown remarkable resilience by constructing their local governance and undertaking other action to be resilient, such as ensuring like food security with the assistance of the local civil society organization and ethnic revolutionary organizations. So despite facing a controlled banking systems and numerous barriers, many local organizations rely on limited resources and individual donation. We, the pro-democracy movement and other, assistance are relying on the local donation. So after 3 demanding years of relentless local resource limitation, mobilization, resilient people of Myanmar has almost exhausted of their capacity, leaving them to pour from the wells of the emptiness. However, some managed to obtain the humanitarian assistance through the partnership in the international organization, humanitarian and development partner organization, but the bureaucratic and red tape and financial control measure adopted by the development and humanitarian organization continue to pose challenges. So the situation requires utmost flexibility, adaptive and agile programming, and quick response. A trust-based modality of funding is necessary, and donors must be satisfied with one big, cumulative report explaining how their funds were used and reached to the community. What types of community requiring detailed financial audits and transition records due to the serious security risks on local civil society and humanitarian actors. In relation to the Cyclone Mocha, Rakhine State aftermath of the disasters is characterized by the potential ethnic tension stemming from decades of exclusion, structural violence, and armed conflicts. It is of utmost importance that international humanitarian organizations carry out intervention to address the needs of the Rohingya and Rakhine population equitably without exacerbating the existing conflict fault lines. Conflict-sensitive ways of humanitarian aid delivery is a must in Myanmar. Existing coalition of human rights organizations and network, including local humanitarian network, have established the channels to reach to the most affected population. They have built trust over the years with the communities and have the reliable actors who can effectively carry out necessary actions. The localization of aid must be of the highest priority. So in the face of such deliberate regime repression and terror, the plight of the vulnerable is magnified. So during this humanitarian forum, I pledge that the war must not turn blind eye to this grave injustice against the people of Myanmar. We are worthy of international assistance and protection, as we have courageously exhibited our zealous commitment and resilience in the struggle for freedom and democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that great call to action at the end. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end about what is your message for policymakers. May, can I ask you the same question, if you can build on some of the main humanitarian and climate challenges that you see from your perspective?
Yes, thank you so much. Since the failed coup, Myanmar has been grappling with a multifaceted humanitarian crisis that exacerbated by the junta's nationwide war on the people. And in addition to my colleagues said, I intend to provide a brief political and economic analysis of the challenges we face. So we are experiencing widespread declines across various measurements, with the poverty rate rising, and as you have already mentioned, over 18 million people, which is 1/3 of Myanmar's population, now require humanitarian aid, but we are not getting humanitarian needs. The humanitarian aids that we need. So in the 3 years, our currency has significantly devalued, moving from $1 to 1,300 Myanmar kyats to 400 Myanmar kyats today. 4,000 Myanmar kyats today, which is a threefold increase. And of course, its impact on the inflation rate. And the current inflation rate stands at 29% for this year's first quarter. So our account balance is negative, largely due to the junta's importations of arms and ammunition to kill civilians over essential medical supplies and vaccines too. That's consequently, children in many regions lack access to necessary vaccinations since COVID time. And adding to the mix is Myanmar ranked second out of 187 countries in the 2016 Global Climate Risk Index, indicating its vulnerability to extreme weather events. Myanmar is one of the world's most disaster-prone countries, exposed to multiple hazards, including floods, cyclones, earthquakes, landslides, and droughts. During the coup, we have had Cyclone Mocha in May 2023, and it affected the coastal regions, underscoring Myanmar's environmental vulnerabilities and also the structural challenges in providing disaster relief and aid to the Rohingya who live in Rakhine and other ethnic minorities in conflict zones. In August 2023, torrential downpours triggered floods and landslides across regions such as Bago, Karen State, and Mon State, devastating early harvested rice paddies. It is likely that many here are unaware of these and other disasters Myanmar has faced over the past 3 years, given the lack of international media coverage our crisis received. The challenges we are facing are systematic and multi-layered. And I would like to continue talking about gender-specific humanitarian challenges. Myanmar is a patriarchal society with strict social, cultural norms that women are coerced to follow. Failure to follow to these norms lead to social stigmatization. Women face invisible labor and a triple burden, managing household chores, caring for the sick and the elderly, and educating children. During times of conflict, these norms are either exacerbated or shift slightly, sometimes allowing for women's participation in decision-making and leadership. However, this shift does not reduce their workload in the social sphere. So, in humanitarian emergencies, women are expected to continue to bear the burden of social reproduction, Public services have been severely affected with few affordable and functioning hospitals available. Lower economic strata struggle to meet their health needs, and the burden falls heavily on women. The military has been forcibly closing private hospitals, employing healthcare workers who joined the civil disobedience movement, the CDM we called. And from 2023 to 2024, 5 to 6 hospitals has been forced to shut down. Climate change challenges continually pose stress to women and girls, of course. Gender roles assign them the responsibility of providing food and sustaining lives within the society. When food insecurity arises, women and girls face additional stress to ensure their families have enough to eat. The state of food security is very much linked to climate patterns, conflict, and economic factors. So Myanmar is facing threats in all 3 accounts. So in the context of recent natural disasters and armed conflict, the resilience and public spiritness of the Myanmar people are truly extraordinary. Amidst ongoing crisis over the last 3 years, women in particular have faced increased responsibilities. They have addressed climate-related challenges like droughts, storms, and floods, while also meeting the critical needs of internally displaced persons, poverty-affected communities, and those affected by both conflict and natural disasters. It is truly humbling to share the extraordinary dedication and commitment of grassroots civil society organizations and women's organizations, many of whom are humanitarian actors on ground. They creatively identify and reach the communities in most need despite limited resources. Their activities are characterized by remarkable intersectional awareness. For example, they targeted the most vulnerable and marginalized families in delivering cross-border aid. We have seen individuals cross land borders on small bikes, each carrying a 20-pound rice bag to sustain affected communities. Their remarkable endurance under such conditions highlight the strength and perseverance of Myanmar's communities. But we cannot go on like this indefinitely. We need sustained support, resources, and a systemic change. I will stop here and looking forward to discuss more based on your questions.
Thank you very much. And thank you for highlighting the amount of burden on women. I love the term triple burden that you highlighted. Let's go over now to Susanna, who's joining us virtually for your remarks. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank CSIS for inviting me to this important forum. And here, the role of women in humanitarian and climate action. So this is very, very important and urgent issue, not only our country and the whole globe crisis. So we can see the Myanmar women role after the coup is very important. They are on the front line and like in the strike group and medical cover and logistic support, they are everywhere leading the role of revolution. And the women power is very much significant during the revolution until now. Now they are become the refugee camp management leaders, committee leaders, and development committee leaders in their local area. So after the coup, with the elected parliamentarian MP and all the ethnic leaders, we formed the National Unity Government. So our Ministry of Women, Youth and Children is one of the cabinet member of NUG, and I become the very first minister for this ministry, because in our history, in Myanmar history, we never have before to emphasize the issue for the women and children and youth. So this is very much remarkable changes in our history. And also, we would like to honor the women who involved in, against the dictatorship and having the leadership role in the, developing the federal union country. So this is a very fascinating topic that now we are talking about. So you may know that Myanmar is the most, the weather, climate change hit country in the world. This year, a lot of people suffer from heat stroke. So it's become 49 degree. So it's said the most hottest and the most droughted in the world. And that the people are running for their life. They are running in the field without shelter, without water, and the water scarcity also very big issue for the community. When I visit to the refugee camps, and then the community leaders, they only ask for water. They said, without food, we can stand. Without water, they are very much suffer. And then communal violence become because of the competition of getting water in the refugee camps as well as the local community. So this is my recent trip to the community, and this is very high risk in the population. And 6.5 million people, Myanmar people, needed the emergency assistance, and 2.6 million, they are internally displaced people. So I'm also once staying in the village, and then I also suffer with the water problem. So I know how difficult of their life, daily life. And also, as our colleagues mentioned, that economic decline also suffer in our country because of the military destroy the properties of the people, including the women leading household, the livelihood system, like weaving machine and handmade business in Central Burma, Central Myanmar, Karen State, and Karenni State. So this is a very urgent needed issue that we have the oppression of the military as well as suffer from the climate change. So for the next round, I will talk about how we have the program for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for acknowledging that this newer conversation to center women and girls as we talk about these different challenges. Last but not least, we'll bring in Finzar. As I mentioned to you, she's not able to be with us here live in person or online. However, she was able to share with us a recording of some of her remarks to make sure that we have her voice as a youth activist highlighted.
Minglava, this is Conceptually for Sister. We are a group of young feminists from different backgrounds, ethnicity, citizenships, and we formed out of the coup attempt in 2021 in Myanmar. We stand in solidarity with our sister resisting all forms of dictatorship, not just in Myanmar, but across the globe, including sister of the Rohingya population and sister in Ukraine, Palestine, Afghanistan, and Sudan. This is such a privilege that we could present what is happening in Myanmar and our recommendation to the humanitarians in this auspicious forum. As women, we make up more than 50% of the Myanmar's population. And in our relatively young nation with a median age of 27, women from diverse backgrounds and generations have joined in the Spring Revolution against the military junta since 2021. Whether on the military, political, humanitarian, or diplomatic front lines, we understand the consequences of military dictatorship all too well. Consequently, we resist and challenge the patriarchy system that seeks to oppress us. Tragically, we bear the brands of the junta brutality, facing sexual, physical, and mental violations, not just at the hands of the military, but also within a system that fails to protect us. Through detention camps to conflict zones, we endure unspeakable horrors. Our rights tremble upon by those who sworn to defend us. The recent forced conscription law enacted by the junta exacerbate the plight of women and the young population in Myanmar. Through a grassroots level recruitment system utilizing a lottery, nearly 14 million eligible individuals are summoned, with the junta actively seeking 5,000 recruits monthly, putting young women in particular at risk. Amidst this turmoil, many of us flee the country, only to fall prey to human traffickers along the borderlines in Thailand, India, and in China, organ traders or online predators. Women, both online and offline, face heightened vulnerability in these desperate circumstances. Meanwhile, as Myanmar grapple with political upheaval, we also contend with the harsh reality of climate change. Despite soaring temperature in Myanmar, the heat of our suffering surpasses even the sweltering summer sun. While some may perceive Myanmar plight as an internet affairs or internet matter, it is in fact a global humanitarian crisis and a stain on the conscience of humanity. As crises in Ukraine and Palestine garner international attention, it is imperative that no one is forgotten, and Myanmar's struggle for justice and freedom must not be overlooked. The UN Security Council adoption of Resolution 2669, despite its belated arrival, has failed to produce tangible progress in holding the junta atrocities. Similarly, the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, 5-point consensus has yielded no result after 2 years. We urge international actors to cease any partnership with the junta under the guise of the humanitarian aid. As such, collaboration only perpetuates the crisis and undermine the efforts of local humanitarian organizations, especially the ethnic humanitarian organizations that have been operating for so many decades under the attack of the military for many decades. To address the situation and the crisis in Myanmar, I think it's also very important, and we as a sister, we call on for a new resolution under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. This resolution must mandate the referral of the crisis to the International Criminal Court or the establishment of the ad hoc tribunal. Additionally, a comprehensive arms embargo and targeted economic sanctions against the military junta are essential steps to curb its reign of terror and bring about lasting change, not just in Myanmar, but also in the region. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Wonderful. I think this is a perfect place for us to talk a little bit more in depth about some of the themes that came up in all of your remarks. And I want to talk a little bit more about that tension between the short-term challenges and the longer-term challenges, and what are some of the significant trade-offs related to climate action and advocacy that women are having to make to be able to respond to the ongoing humanitarian crisis. And Susanna, I will start with you to kick off that conversation.
Yes, since forming of our ministry, we have formed the working group and then have the strategy to engage with the community and then to fulfill the needs of the people. So we have three objectives. We used to call 3 Ps: protect, provide, and promote. To protect women, children, and youth from the human rights violation, provides to support their necessary needs for their livelihoods, and to promote the leadership of women, youth, and children for building the federal democracy country. So then we build up the capacity for the local women. So we already gave the training, provided the training for 2,000 women in the grassroots level. And plus, we have 580 CDM, the staff who working with us in the grassroots level. So, for example, in the first year, 2021, we supported the pregnant women with the cash transfer program, like 50,000 pregnant women provided by our program. Today, we have supported already 150,000 pregnant women with our program. And for the individual headed household, we support with food, medicines, and hygiene kits. For last year data, we have more than 60,000 women are supported in 2023. So, on the other hand, we also have the big issue that gender-based violence. According to our research department record, we have 228 women were committed like sexual violence, mostly by the military, and like military cases is committed cases is like 180, and then the civilian case is like 38, and also the People Defense Force committed like 15 cases. So some of these cases are women who are looking for water in the jungle. They are committed. They are like sexual violence by the soldier and also other villagers and something like that. So it is very much worrisome for the women who are taking care of their families during the conflict. And according to our record, we have women political prisoner 3,957 in the prison, and 16 of the women leaders, they are in the death sentence. The military is most notorious, and also they use brutal way to end the democracy movement. And so far, the women activists and women leaders killed by the military is 1,303. So the data is, increased daily, because in every day, the military kill, torture, rape the women in front line. And the women are, the shield to protect the family, but they face who is threatened by the military. So we need a lot of, protection for the women in the front line. And I would like to highlight some points to take the attention for the ASEAN and also international community. So number one is to increase the humanitarian aid to the affected families, because now we shortfall for the, for the humanitarian aids. And we need more pressure and more sanction to stop jet fuel, because every day the military use jet fighter to kill their people, their own people. And number three is support the ethnic organization and NUG for cross-border humanitarian aids. Number four, and I would like to call upon UN and also Commissioner to end sexual violence in conflict and to stop GBV violence for the Myanmar women. The last but not the least, provide the necessary assistance and technical mechanism for federal democracy building and system building, because the people of Myanmar don't want to live under the military anymore. They fight with their most effort for the freedom. So we need the international attention to the people of Myanmar. So your support will be very helpful for our fellow Myanmar people, that they are struggle for their freedom. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kim, let me go to you and ask you what is being done, what can be done related to the climate challenges that you all pointed out, when at the same time there is a humanitarian crisis. What are you seeing?
Yeah, frankly speaking, it is very, the country's situation is very chaotic. So there is no stable government because the interim government is, outside of the country, because the military junta forced them to be in exile, kind of. So the policy, the implementations, we cannot be expected. But before the coup, the NLD government has planned for national strategic plans for climate change, so in line with the SDG. So they already have the kind of the plan, but unfortunately it cannot be done during that crisis. So, but at the same time, the people in the community, grassroots, they are, that the Minister Susanna mentioned, that they are looking for the peace. And at the same time, they are looking for the food and water and the shelters. So they are not very much, focused on the climate or the protection, the education, whatever, but they need the peace. Because without the stability, we cannot do anything. That's why our key message here is that climate problem is very global problem. But at the same time, ending the military dictatorship is also very important. Without having a peaceful situation, we cannot do anything. Without peace, we cannot do anything. So that's why, but we never forget about climate change or other things, gender equality, other things we are also doing in the process under the NUCC, National Unity Consultative Council. This is the policy platform. We, civil society, NUG, the ethnic leaders, civil societies work together to develop the policies when there is a transition about the federal, constitution building and, developing the constitution and other policies. So that's why we are now preparing for these matters, including climate change and other, like natural environment, things like that. But frankly speaking, currently, we cannot focus specifically on that issues. So the local people always ask to get the peace, to drive the military junta from their land. So this is their urgent need. So to fulfill their demand, what we have to do currently is that providing the assistance. They are very vulnerable. The girls, especially the girls and elderly people, they are in IDP camps without having shelters, food, and water. So we have to support them urgently, that emergency assistance. So we cannot do properly, frankly speaking, what you asked. But at the same time, we are very aware of it. But currently, because of the situation, we cannot do it.
It's a priority, but what's urgent needs to be dealt with first. Maybe what would you add to that? Ken was talking about there's a national strategy, but can't really implement it in that context with the root causes that need to be addressed first.
Well, as we believe that, when the coup is reversed, there will be a significant increase in the space and efforts to respond to the humanitarian consequences of the climate crisis. And given Myanmar's vulnerability to extreme weather patterns and natural disasters, of course, these concerns have already been considered and included in the local administrative policies of ethnic resistance organizations' governance structure. So in one of the ethnic governance structures, their humanitarian policy consider the impacts of natural disaster and humanitarian nexus. And also the activists, women human rights defenders are also trying to achieve, the impossible things to be possible. So they document humanitarian needs, allow to potential donors, mobilize resources and conduct advocacy with remarkable creativity. The grassroots organizations and activists are doing their best to plant trees in dry zones. And also the activists masterfully find ways to assess conflict-affected communities in various disguises, constantly maintaining their connections and networks with those in need. So what I mean is despite limited resources, they find innovative solutions to face challenges. And women's groups are well connected, and their existing networks and platforms continue to enable them to operate in a restrictive environment, providing a viable solution. Most of their solutions given to the communities are conflict sensitive, with security concern as their top priority. And also before the coup, as my colleague said, Myanmar was on the right track in addressing environmental degradations and also climate response. However, the current restrictive operational context has forced people to abandon the progress made during the opening of civil space in last 10 years. Despite all these difficult times, we are confident that civil society organizations, women human rights defenders, and climate activists are doing what they can. And when the time and space allow, there will be substantial efforts to address these challenges once again. Since all these challenges and how to respond the actions for how to respond are already, considered and, in their mind.
Let me pull that thread here a little bit about the role of grassroots and local civil society groups. If I can ask about how are they reaching women and girls, and if you can continue that conversation here, how are you seeing those groups reaching the most vulnerable and reaching women and girls who are in need?
Sometimes it is, difficult for you to understand how we work virtually, right? And we have to be thankful of these technologies and the experiences of connecting people from around the world by using technologies during the COVID time. So right now, even though we are here, but we are closely connected with all the women human rights defenders across the country using, many virtual platforms. So our phones are always, ready, and we have a platform that we can inform to each other. We have formed our virtual groups like Signal, by using Signals, WhatsApp, Telegram. We have added, like a lot of women's leaders like us in the groups working from different time zones. And even though if we are sleeping in US time, the other sisters who are working in the Asia, at least one of us could respond, like the complaints or the urgent needs coming from the ground. Because like our networks are really broad. Even before the coup, we are well connected with the grassroots level women, not only women organizations, but also the civil society partners who are working in different states and regions. So we have that communication channel to exchange, information and also, to deliver the assistance they need. So it might be a little bit difficult for you to understand, but that's the way we work. Even if they need cash immediately, for example, in Thai baht, we will be finding who could deliver Thai baht to their account immediately. We can find within our networks easily. Even this morning, one of my sister is asking, okay, I would like to send 15,000 Thai baht, to one of the women who is urgently needed for delivering a baby in Thai border, And I can quickly ask, okay, who has Thai baht to transfer right away, right? And then, through our network and connection, everything is quickly done like this. And everything is based on trust. And also, the communication channels we have created, and also the effectiveness of coordinations among us. So, we are all, the Minister Susanna, and also the sisters to sisters, Tensa Shonlei, even though we are representing different heads, but we are well connected. We are informed to each other, and we know how to coordinate and also who to ask, where to get information. So we are just using all these accessibility resources, by sharing information and using information technologies, effectively.
This was really helpful. Thank you so much for sharing that, how well you're connected, not just those on the ground, but for both of you based here in the US as well, how you're in constant communication as well. Kin, if you can share with us, how are some of the local and national civil society operating on the ground to reach women and girls?
Yeah, it is quite challenging, because we civil societies are targeted by the military junta. We are the, the enemy of the, military junta. So most of us are in a black list. Most of us fled to the liberated area or the border area. Some are stay inside the country, but they stay in low profile, and they disguise themselves as a, how can I say, other business leaders or something like that. So they no longer register in a military junta, so they cannot operate publicly on ground. So they go underground, we call it. So, but we are well connected. So these women rights organizations, they always did the meeting, weekly meeting, monthly meeting, and they share the information, as Ms. Webb mentioned that. So these leaders can reach out to the grassroots who ask for their help, so they can reach out through across the country. So because of, as she mentioned, that technology, even though they're based in Yangon, they cannot go mobilize freely to the other conflict-related area. But because of the technology, Zoom and other platforms, they can communicate easily, and we can do the online education program and other, awareness raising programs. So we can do a lot. So on that way, we can reach out to them. But by providing the assistance, for example, like financial assistance or material assistance, we can use some of the, biker or maybe local people who can do these, assistance on taking their own risk, so we can do that. And other thing is that transaction, like you mentioned, cross-border. So now as I mentioned, that the communication, transportation is a little bit difficult inside the country. So what we do is that we rely on the border area. So Thai border, Indian border, other border as well. So we provided the cash transfer to these border area because of the bank transition is a little bit easier than through the inside country. So that we transfer the money and then they buy the materials from them and they cross the border and support to even though including medicines and other goods also. So on that way, we can reach out to them. And also because, as we mentioned, that we trust each other. Trust building is very important. So we build the trust not only this time, but also for long and after the opening of our country since 2010. So we build the trust. So the community people trust on the civil society, especially the women rights organization. They know that women work hardly. So that's why they rely on us.
Absolutely. Susanna, let me go over to you if you'd like to add on to that conversation about the role of local and national civil society groups and the ways that they're reaching women and girls. Susanna.
Sorry?
Yes. Great.
I would like you to see Myanmar as a transitional period. So according to, the research and also the data, the revolution groups, they occupy 60 to 70% of the land of Myanmar. So we can do a lot in the liberated area. And we also have, the ethnic control area, and then they already set up their, the administration unit there. And now they're forming the new government, their own government for the liberation. So like in Karenni, they formed IEC as a government, and then under their new government, they also have the environmental department or something like that. In Karen, they also have the Karen environmental, and forestry department. So we work together as a NUG. We work together with these federal units, and we have the planting day in July. We also have, the International Rivers Day that we celebrate with the youth and women along the big rivers. And then we have a lot of campaign to reach to the, CSO and also community leaders, because most of them, they keep the indigenous right in their own land. So a lot of things are happening. And in current state, the organization called KISAN, Current Environmental and Social Network, they recently got the international award for keeping the environment, forestry. They call the Peace Park, that they keep the water sources and also forestry and so and so. So we have to encourage them, their own community, own management, and also the awareness by themselves. So this is happening in Myanmar. Yes, of course, we have the fightings, but on the other hand, we also have the good news that the uprising new political actors, they are very aware of their own, environmental keeping, and also they have the plan for their own land. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to be able to take one or two questions. If you think you have a question, you can start raising your hand. Can I just want to, before I take any audience questions, I want to follow up on something that you said earlier about women leaders being targeted. And if you can expand a little bit on women who are civic activists, political activists. It's a very restrictive environment. How are they keeping that work going as they're being targeted, as you mentioned?
Yeah, me, myself, and Ms. Webju also, that we are the women rights activists. So let me give the examples of myself. So in 1st March 2021, after a month of military coup, my apartment was raided, and my office is also raided. So totally destroyed, and also from that time on, I have to run and hide in Yangon, and then I fled to the Thai border area together with my 2 little kids. So then the U.S. Embassy evacuated me to U.S. So this is the first example that we are targeted because, you know, we are very much affiliated and well connected with the women's MP, like Minister Susanna at that time is a member of parliament. So we support, support me. I provided them safe house and other, you know, assistance because we are not at that time front line. The women's MPs and they are targeted, so that's why we are in a supporter. But at the same time, we did firstly, we make the public statement, open letters to denounce the coup, and we openly publicize that we, women rights organization, will no longer engage the military junta because it is against the public people desire, against the people vote. So that's why we publicly denounce to the coup. So that's why we are targeted. And again, we did the demonstration, protests, but we are strategically protest in front of the International Embassy, development partners, agencies. So because we know that we are well connected with these people and these embassies and the agency. That's why we did a statement, we met in person, sometimes we send an open letter. So on that way we are doing. We are working together with the other youth activists and student activists, but at the same time, we have our own strategies to get targeted to the international community to know what is happening inside the country. That's why we women rights activists are targeted. Till now, because we never give up, we never, surrender to the military junta, stay against the junta. That's why they stay targeted to the women rights activists.
Because of the ongoing resilience,
yes.
Right? Did you want to add me anything to that, please?
Yeah. So another good example I could give you is, for example, my network. So, like, I have to run and hide just after a week of McKinley run and hide because, like, I joined the Sarong flag campaign on International Women's Day, 8th of March in 2021. So, and we're being, blocked and searched by the security forces, and, we barely able to manage to escape, from the area that security forces are blocked and check to everyone. So we have gone through really bitter experiences, but my network, so we have more than 100 international, both international and local organizations, as well as the individuals. So we also decided not to extend registrations and any work relationships with the junta, the SAC. So, and we have to close down our office. And actually, Jen has very big resource center because gender resources are really scarcity in our country. So we built up a physical small library called Gender Resource Center. Not only our office, we have to close down our Gender Resource Center as well. And all of our office materials, everything we have to donate or give away to our members. and I have to flee. And also we managed to, relocate our senior management team to Thailand. And of course, because of the security and limited resources, we have to also squeeze down number of staff who could continue working in country. Because if we have 20 or 30 staff, it is difficult for us to manage and take care of their safety and security in country, right? So we have to squeeze down our staff, and we talk to our staff. Are you willing to continue working with us? Because continue working with us means you have to take your own risks working inside the country, right? And we have very committed, passionate staff who are willing to take their own risks working inside the country. Through them, we are still connected with our members, partners on ground. And it is very difficult for them to travel one place to another, but the way we are trying to work is, if we cannot go there, we bring those community women's leaders to come to Thailand or even to US. We try to mobilize resources to do in-person consultations, inviting the frontline women's leaders working in different communities to come, and then we discuss in a safe space, of course, and then we documented all the information they have given to us, and we use those very first-hand information coming from the ground for advocating here and at the UN as well. So it's since we are here, we are able to access directly to the United Nations, when the General Assembly held, when the Security Council meetings are having in New York City, right? So we are using all those first-hand information on ground to tell the international community here, like we do right now. And also, of course, we cannot travel outside of US, which is a shame of us, because since we came here with the humanitarian parole or, some kind of visa, so, and then after our humanitarian parole or visa expire, what could we do? Our passports are also expired, and the only way we have to we can stay here is to apply for the political asylum, and the asylum process here is so long, and we are stuck here. We cannot travel outside of the U.S. So we are using my senior management team members are based in Thailand, and also the other sisters like us, they relocated to Thailand or within the other ASEAN countries. So to be able to reach the other international communities or to travel to Geneva during the Human Rights Council, of course, this is their responsibility. So they are taking responsibility to travel around the world, which we cannot do. So what I'm trying to explain is you can see, how we are working and connected in different levels. We still have a lot of staff and also our network members who are working on ground in different areas. We have our own ways to collect information from them. And then, we have a group of sisters like us who are based in Thailand or, in Philippines or in the other countries within the region. So, we are using, our advantages, accessibility to, advocate our issues in different level and, where we are. And you may not imagine how we continue to work from here. Our working hours starts at 9:30 or 10 p.m. every night. We barely sleep because we work the same time zone with Myanmar. So we are working until up to 3 or 4 a.m. in our time here. You may imagine that it is impossible, but we are doing this for more than 3 years now. And we are committed to do it.
Thank you very much. I know I promised a potential in-person question. Are there any questions in the audience? Okay, my colleague Elliot has if I can ask you because of time to make your question very brief.
Sure.
That would be fantastic.
I'm Kristen, and I work for a Danish NGO called DCA. We work through local civil society in Myanmar, so very nice to see you. My question is about the best way that the international community can support local civil society. So I know that there's a lot of good intention on the part of the UN and other agencies, but it's not clear to me that the support is actually the type of support that local civil society in Myanmar needs. So can you tell us a bit more about how you see that working for you in the best way?
That's a great question. Thank you very much. You could have support, but does that mean that's the right type of support? I would love to get all of you to answer this question because it's a great way to close off our conversation here soon. If you could briefly answer that question, and I'll get to you, Susanna, as well. Can I start with you?
Thank you. So, yeah, very difficult, especially in that situation. So the international donors are also very confusing. And because of the international crisis as well, because of the financial limitation. So even though, especially, let me give the example of the US government, that there is a Burma Act to support directly, to target it to the movement and the civil society. But unfortunately, these assistance will not go to us because of, bureaucratic or maybe other constraints or something like that. But for us, exactly that the support to the civil society is getting shortage and very low. We can say that. So that's why our women rights organization, our sisters inside the countries, they kept asking for the financial assistance and other assistance to continue their work on ground. Because the prices are higher and triple, but the fundings are very shortage. So what we want is that the civil society role is very important to strengthening the civic engagement and the role of the civil society to continue to support, for example, the NED, National Endowment for Democracy, is my partner, my grantor, so they support for, office space and I don't know how to call it, co-funding. So most of the donors are just providing for the programming. So it is not enough and sufficient for the long term. For example, inside the country or now, the cost is very high. Staying at Thailand or other countries, getting the visa extension. To renew their visa, they have to go out from Thailand to get to that country. And then, so it is very expensive. So that's why we need the financial support, and financial support not only for the civil society, the organization, but also to support to the local people. Now I'm not a humanitarian assistant, organization. My organization, just capacity building organization. But we have to create and innovate the way we support to the local people. What I'm doing now is that I have a network of civil disobedience movement people like teachers, doctors, nurses, engineers. I invited them to join online discussions that I have to weekly basis. So they join the discussion and panel and talk about the international affairs or political situations or human rights, blah, blah. I provided them communication bill. So I call it a communication bill creatively, but I provided them the sufficient amount of money to their PAN account. Without these supports, they cannot survive. CDM people, government employees, they don't have work. They are, starving. They have a family member. on that way, we can support to these people in need indirectly. So civil society can do it exactly what they need. So that's currently I'm doing now.
Thank you. We have 1 minute left, so 30 seconds each.
Sorry.
I know it's a big question to answer, but Susanna, can you answer very briefly, what would your message to the international community and policymakers be in terms of how they can support all of your work?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for the question. And I think the trend is changing, you know. We also have our system as a government, and with the most effective way to support the local CSO is the most effective way to support the community. So now we have, you know, some women organization and some CSO having MOU with our ministry to support women and children in the grassroots. So it is very effective. In every village, we have the network, and also we have the township officer there. And here, our sister Kinley and Mezabeth, their organization, they provide the capacity building for our women leaders. So it is very, very cost effective, and also very, time is very effective. So recognize us as government, because sometimes your organization need the registration. We can give the registration and also MOU. And our ministry have the sub grant for the local CSO now. It is very effective. Their report is perfect, and all the all the financial report are very thoroughly. So please believe to the local organization and partner with us for the effective service to the most needy community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll close things off with you here.
In short,
yes,
we need flexible and long-term support, because it's like, we understand that you have a lot of bureaucracies and red tapes, we have to follow all the donors' requirements, due diligence, everything. But you are hearing, how we are responding on ground, right? It is not easy for us to follow all the requirements of donors, because it is not applicable in the case of Myanmar on ground. A lot of donors, they require organization registration as well as organizational bank account. But for us, we cannot have official registrations under the military junta. We cannot have organizational bank account because of we don't have registration. And also the current support are very short term, 6 months or a year. And you are hearing all the crises happen in Myanmar. And we need long term, not only to overcome these crisis situations, but also we need to rebuild the community and our country, a new union, federal democratic country. So if the donors could not commit for long-term support, it is very difficult for the local organizations to survive. And a lot of donors, they only wanted to deliver their aids for programming. And they are expecting that, the local organizations have to bear all the human resource costs and, office running costs, which is unfair. And also sharing risks with us. We are taking our own life, working for the community on ground. And, if you don't want to share risks with us, how could we work together? So that's my message.
Thank you very, very much to all of you. Thank you for sharing your personal stories. Thank you to all your work that you're doing. Thank you for your resilience. I know I felt like when we started off the discussion, we talked about a lot of challenges. but you left us with also there's so much hope because of the resilience of what you're doing, but at the same time, your clear message of what you need from policymakers, international community. I hope you all are leaving with a lot of good takeaways from today's discussion. I would like to also thank a few of my colleagues. Without them, this event wouldn't be possible, and the partnership with my program here at CSIS. I'd like to thank the director of the Humanitarian Agenda Program, Michelle Struck. I would like to thank Jude as well for their leadership in making this panel possible, Amine, and my colleague Elliot as well. Thank you so much to all of you. And if I can ask you please to join me in a round of applause to our wonderful panelists.